Hi friends, welcome back to another episode of Generation Tech. My name is Alan. So today we're going to dive deep into the Force and talk about one of the more confusing aspects in Star Wars, and that is the Force Ghost or Force Spirit. We're going to explain to you guys what it is, and in case you want to be one, how to become one. At the time of the Clone Wars, as far as the Jedi Order knew, it was impossible for an individual to retain their identity after death when the spirit returns to the cosmic force. There are two parts of the Force. The first part is the living force, and it feeds off the energy of all living things in the universe. This living force in turn powers what's known as the cosmic force, which binds everything together and allows individuals to connect with the Force through midichlorians. I believe the cosmic force is somewhat sentient and has the ability to react to what's going on in the universe and the living force. It also seems to have the ability, or at least the will, to keep balance in the Force. Years before the Clone Wars, Darth Plagueis and Darth Sidious were able to challenge the Force through meditation. With their combined powers, they were able to imbalance the Force and increase the strength of the dark side. In response to their actions, the cosmic force retreated and became quiet. And in their arrogance, the Sith were unaware that they had set in motion plans that would eventually destroy them. The cosmic force foresaw the death and destruction coming to the Jedi Order and set forth a contingency plan to preserve a select few Jedi. These were individuals who would help bring balance to the Force. They were the Chosen Ones. Not the Chosen One, but the Chosen Ones that would guide the Chosen Ones. Let's just call them Chosen Ones. Okay. The first individual we know that was selected was Qui Gon Jinn. He had secretly become a student of the living force and was one of the first Jedi in the modern era to retain his consciousness after death. But because his training was not complete, in most situations he can only be heard and not seen. As a Force Ghost, Qui Gon Jinn hinted that there was no concept of time, and one had access to far more knowledge than those living in the physical world. It's kind of like being a fan or an actor in Star Wars. We're able to be omnipresent and jump to any point in time in Star Wars history by just picking up a script, a book, a movie, or even a video game. So does that mean that when Qui-Gon Jinn dies and leaves the Star Wars universe, he becomes Liam Neeson? So Liam Neeson isn't playing Qui-Gon Jinn. Qui-Gon Jinn is playing Liam Neeson. Anyway, by transcending the physical realm, the cosmic force assures that these individuals can be ready to train others to eventually train the Chosen One. But how does one achieve the rank of Liam Neeson? I mean, Force Ghost. Well, naturally, it's a very complicated process, and it requires a very powerful light side Force user who is completely selfless. He didn't always follow the Jedi code, but he was an extremely compassionate person who often took on individuals that others thought were unworthy. He possessed the selflessness that was required to be the Chosen One's Chosen One, or the Chosen Ones. And that only became more apparent after he left the physical Star Wars galaxy and devoted his life to protecting teenage girls from human traffickers. Anyway, towards the end of the Clone Wars, Yoda was contacted by Qui-Gon Jinn. When he revealed this to the rest of the council, some of the masters became worried that Yoda had fallen under the influence of the dark side. They group meditated for hours, ran a battery of medical tests on Yoda, and even restricted him from leaving the temple. Which, by the way, shows you just how lost the Jedi Order had become. Qui-Gon Jinn then contacts Yoda again and tells him to travel to Dagobah to find the answers he was looking for. Dagobah was one of the purest places in the galaxy, and the Force was extremely strong there, and it was easier for Yoda to communicate with Qui-Gon Jinn. The Jedi Master is guided towards a cave strong in the dark side. Inside, he sees the death of the Jedi Order and the rise of Darth Sidious. I'm pretty sure this is the same cave that Luke goes into in The Empire Strikes Back. From there, he continues on his spiritual journey. His first stop is a planet where midichlorians and perhaps life itself was first created. He meets the Force priestesses who give him a series of tests that he must pass to show that he is worthy to become one with the Force. In his first test, he must confront his fear. Yoda already thinks he's conquered this long ago. After all, he is the leader of the Jedi Order. But once again, this shows how misled the Jedi Order has become. Yoda is confronted by a dark side version of himself, who actually really sounds like Smeagol.
Yoda, please, not with me anymore. Yoda thinks me not worthy.
So to make things easier, we'll call dark side Yoda Soda. Okay. So Yoda rejects Soda and they continue brawling, but the more Yoda rejects Soda, the more powerful Soda becomes. The Jedi didn't really understand that you couldn't completely reject what was so naturally a part of everyone. Like Ben and Jerry's milk and cookies flavored ice cream, we're all made up of a creamy swirl of light and dark side. Yoda eventually realizes the wisdom of ice cream metaphors and tells Soda that although he is a part of him, he has no control over him. This confirms something I've been talking about a lot in our recent episodes. The Jedi Order and the Sith have both lost their ways in the Force. Legends say that the ancient Jedi were individuals who could wield both sides of the Force, but made sure not to drift too far on either side. Yoda wasn't allowed to become one with the Force until he understood this concept. But succeed Yoda does, and despite being the leader of the Jedi Order, the Master realizes he has a lot to learn.
You have conquered your hubris. Now face the temptations you must.
I've got sunshine on a cloudy day.
Next, Yoda enters the Valley of Extinction where he must face temptation. He's presented with two versions of his life. In one, the Jedi Temple lay in ruins, and he has failed to protect the Jedi Order. In the second version, he sees life in the Jedi Temple without the Clone Wars. It's quite a sad and beautiful scene. Jedi who will die or have died are seen roaming the peaceful grounds of the Jedi Temple. We even get to see Count Dooku as the Jedi he could have been had he not turned to the dark side.
I was telling them the tale of when you faced the giant Terentatek on Kashyyyk. What a terrible beast it was.
Yes, I remember.
We had wonderful adventures, Master Yoda and I.
But the illusion is fleeting as Yoda realizes that this vision is a lie.
No, wrong this is. Lies these images are. Lies. Dead I know you to be. On Naboo, died you did, Qui Gon. And a traitor you are, my old Padawan.
And passed another test he has. One of the Force priestess unmasks herself and reveals that she is a pure manifestation of the Force, with no physical form. She has already achieved Yoda's goal in becoming one with the Force. The next destination in Yoda's journey is Morrobrand, the original homeworld of the Sith. Yoda is attacked by serpents and the spirits of Sith lords and warriors, but none can hurt him, because they are all just illusions. Not even the spirit of Darth Bane, the founder of the Rule of Two, can stop him. Count Dooku, being his former Padawan, sensed Yoda's presence and alerted Darth Sidious. Together they perform an ancient ritual which basically is like Star Wars blood magic. Anyway, they do this in order to interfere with Yoda's trial. Yoda enters a Sith temple where he encounters a fake image of Master Sifo Dyas who is imprisoned. He asks Yoda to free him, and in return he will tell him who the hidden Sith are. But Yoda sees that his former friend's eyes are tainted with the dark side and refuses to fall for this ruse. Then he awakens to find himself on a clone dropship. He and Anakin are on their way to intercept Dooku, who is meeting with his master on Coruscant. In the fight that ensues, Anakin is knocked unconscious, and Yoda has a choice to either fight Sidious or save Anakin. Although he tries to do both, in the end he chooses to save Skywalker. Falling out of the sky, he wakes up before he hits the ground. Sidious and Dooku have failed to stop Yoda from passing his final test. And Yoda has once again shown his compassion and his willingness to sacrifice himself for his friends. The Force Priestess now grants Yoda permission to begin training to reach enlightenment and balance. Before she leaves, she gives Yoda one last message.
There is another Skywalker.
This foreshadows perhaps that Anakin Skywalker will also one day obtain balance in the Force, or perhaps they mean literally there will be another Skywalker, as in Luke, who will bring balance to the Force. This was the last episode of the Clone Wars, and it's perhaps one of the most important ones. It goes into detail about the Jedi's last final plan, their only hope, which will one day manifest itself in the actions of Luke Skywalker, or if you're a George Lucas purist, Anakin Skywalker. Yoda and Obi Wan Kenobi both eventually become Force ghosts, Being fully trained, they both faded away. Anakin Skywalker also becomes a Force ghost after his death, but it is unknown exactly how he does. It has been said in Legends that he had learned about this skill through Palpatine, but the prerequisite of being selfless makes it seem unlikely that a Sith could achieve this state. So far, we aren't really sure what kind of training a Jedi has to undergo to become a Force ghost. But seeing that Anakin becomes one only moments before turning away from the dark side, it seems like the nature of an individual is much more important than any kind of technical training, and once again we see that the prerequisite for becoming a Force ghost is an act of selflessness. And despite all of Anakin's shortcomings, selflessness was something he had no shortage of. We knew that Lucas drew inspiration from Eastern religions when he created Star Wars. So perhaps becoming a Force ghost or finding true balance in the Force is somewhat like finding enlightenment. One could fully train themselves to the point where their physical body can literally disappear, or one can just be enlightened like Anakin is at the end of Episode 6. I think it'll be interesting to see what we learned be applied to Luke Skywalker in The Last Jedi. If all this is true, Luke doesn't really need to seek the teachings of the Jedi Order in order to find true balance within himself. Let me know what you guys think about this whole issue. I do hope I explained it clear enough. Anyway, in our last episode, we asked you guys who you think would win in a straight-up fight between Darth Vader or Obi Wan. Surprisingly, 236 of you said Obi Wan, and only 159 of you said Vader. In today's poll, I want to ask you guys how you think Darth Vader became a Force ghost. Just click on the card in the top right corner, and I'll let you guys know the results in one of the next episodes. Guys, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification button so you don't miss any of our new videos. And as usual, thanks for joining us. If you're watching this, you are Generation Tech.